It's a Friday, everybody. They said we wouldn't do it, but week one, my goodness. Conan and I are not going to talk until the end of this podcast, and then we're going to share some feelings, thoughts, verdicts on week one. Not going to be pretty. Full debrief coming your way. Cynically, the plan right now is for me to kill two birds with one stone, meet more new colleagues, and also just get the podcast out of the way. So that's about the gist here. We are joined by Sinéad Kissane. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Great to be here.
Last time I would have talked to you in a professional context, I would have been saying something like, and now we'll go down to Sinéad Kissane, who's standing by with Andy Farrell.
I know. They were good days, Joe, weren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Seems
were.
like a long time ago at this stage.
But it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
When did you leave Virgin?
So my last game, Six Nations-wise, was Ireland's win over England in 2021.
Well, that was the start of the Andy Farrell revolution.
Yes. Yeah. That's when it all started.
Because I dare say if they had lost that game, I do remember, even as a panel, in advance we were thinking, do we have to call from my cat's head here? Is that where we are? And, well, things turned out okay.
Yeah, no. And it was CJ Stander's last game as well. So, yeah, they were great times.
Michael Verney in studio, what a pleasure.
How are you, Joe? Good that you both ended up in the biggest house of them all after.
These are stepping stones, you know. And he's a busy man. He's got a Sunday paper to get ready. John Greene, great to have you.
Cheers.
Including humongous, giant, exclusive, everybody looking forward to it, Paul Kimmage talking to Johnny Sexton.
Yes.
It's a big one, John, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's. We're all waiting for the book to come out next week.
Well, there's no need now.
Everything we're hearing is really good about the book.
It's really good.
And the interview on Sunday is really, really good.
Great.
This is one of the great tee-ups for a book, isn't it? Like, usually it's all the articles are coming out as the book is ready to be released. This is like pre-release and everybody's buzzing.
Although I would like excerpts of the Paul Kimmage interview as well. but it's a large one as well, John. It's one of the biggest
it's one
for
of
the
the
Sunday
biggest we've
Independent.
carried. Yeah, definitely. I think last Sunday there was an interview with Gay Byrne's wife. That ran to 8 pages, I think, in the magazine. So we're not quite 8, but we won't be far off it.
Wow.
It's brilliant stuff.
Great. No selling needed, I think. Sexton's going to come up later on. We're going to talk about sledging, amongst other things. That's kind of been a theme of the week. The Irish win against New Zealand. Michael Cheika, a really interesting story about his ban for disrespecting, was the word, an independent match day. Doctor, we have Brian Cody's biggest challenge, is how Michael Verney has pitched it to me, so I'm interested. Before all that, I am curious for your thoughts on the news this morning. Mark Tighe, exclusive this morning and subsequently confirmed by the FAI. They have appointed their new CEO. 6 months on from Jonathan Hill's exit, the FAI have appointed David Carrell as their new permanent chief executive. The board voted yesterday. He has been interim CEO since April. He's been at the FAI since 2022. He was their chief operating officer and he was deemed the man to succeed Jonathan Hill. He's from Castlebar in County Mayo. And he fended off, in particular, Sarah Keane and also, it seems, the Munster CEO, Ian Flanagan, who had formerly worked with Leicester City. So he is in. Thoughts, John Greene?
Yeah, I'm underwhelmed. I'm underwhelmed by disappointment. I'd love to. It's very early. Mark broke the news last night. Literally, as Shamrock Rovers were getting their last gasp equaliser, he broke the news. So it's early days yet. I'd really like to get under the bonnet of the process that was involved in this, because there's already some murmurings of dissatisfaction around how this has come about. In terms of the man himself, we don't know much about him. He had a very public gaffe a couple of weeks ago, which didn't show him in good stead when he talked about trying to get money from the Brexit fund, the deadline for which had passed. You know, I'm told that wasn't necessarily his fault, that it was part of the briefing document that he was supplied with, but my view is if you're going to say something, make sure you know what you're saying. People are saying he's good on detail, that he was good in the COO job, good across technical detail and stuff, but again, there's the only detail we really know about him, and it was, a flag for me. But on the wider point, it seems to me that the talk is that he was a good number 2, and like any good number 2, sometimes staying at number 2 is the shows your strength, and that he may not have the force of personality for the kind of person that's needed to fix that organisation. And without wanting to take sides, but it seems of the 3 names that were in the public realm, I think we're fairly sure that those were the 3 names. Sarah Keane's track record in terms of coming in, what she did with Swim Ireland, was extraordinary. Then she had to come in the wake of the Pat Hickey scandal and fix the Olympic Federation of Ireland, as it's now called. She's done both of those incredibly well. And here is quite definitely the most dysfunctional sporting body on the island, certainly in the 26 counties. And she looked a good fit in terms of what was needed there. The FAI needs 2 things. They need to restore their credibility, 1, and 2, they need money. And they need to do both of those things fast. Sarah Keane has a strong relationship with the people that matter in this country in terms of who's going to give money. And there was a sense, there's been a lot of talk about, Mark Cannon was talking last week about needing 10 million a year to fund the whole academy programme that they're talking about, which again, we're not really sure what they are planning. And there was a lot of, that was met with a deafening silence, I thought, from the government. And there's a real sense of official Ireland sitting back and waiting to see what was happening. There's no doubt that Sarah Keane would have been their preferred candidate, and maybe that counted against her. Maybe people felt that they didn't want somebody who was the government's preferred candidate coming in. But they want money, they need money. They need somebody who has a good track record. And I know we're speaking literally hours after this has been confirmed, but first instincts would be that it's hard to see how this is going to change the FAI, the way that it needs to be changed. It actually feels like the FAI in the post-Delaney era has almost become even more of factions than previously. There just seems to be so many different elements of the football family, as they like to call it, working against each other. And I can't see this. I don't see this as a unifying appointment.
Okay. Yeah, like I agree with John. When I heard that Sarah Keane had been approached about this role, I was like, there's your woman. I mean, she's had such a transformative effect on so many governing bodies, Swim Ireland, the Olympic Federation of Ireland. I thought she was the one for the role. And, again, I don't know too much about him, but it is a hell of a job he's taken on.
Yeah, of his interim period, it hasn't been super high profile since April. It's not fair to say either he's been hiding away. To give you a flavour of his manner, if you happen to have missed him, so he spoke the week after the Girls in Green documentary, the Sunday Independent investigation with Mark Tighe and Marie Crowe. And here's just a brief clip of that press conference where I think he comes across perfectly well.
I think there's an acceptance that the women's game should have had greater care and attention. And that is a key lesson from the show and the article yesterday. I'm happy to report that I think the women's national team is in a far better place today, and I think hopefully everyone can see the progress that we've made. But again, the lesson to be learned is we can't take that for granted. We need to keep on driving to increase service levels, protections and awareness.
So perfectly polished and good sentiments. And the word from Mark Tighe, I spoke to him around that week, was that even behind the scenes, the women involved in this situation were generally pleased with how the FAI were handling things. There was a sincerity on their part, and they came out and apologised. And at the time, there was a degree of legal discussion. Do we want to come out and apologise up front here? That's an admission of guilt on our part, but they did. So that was one of his more high-profile moments. But then there's been the gaffe, as you referred to. And just to tease it out briefly, because it is alarming. He was at an FAI AGM, and he's talking about how we fund the future of the game. And he said, well, look, one of the big avenues is going to be this Brexit adjustment fund. Fast forward 11 days after that, Pascal Donoghue's speaking to the media, and he's asked about that. And he said, quote, all the negotiations on the Brexit adjustment reserve concluded some time ago.
So they missed the deadline for this, is that it?
Yeah. Not they've just missed the deadline. Some time ago.
Wow.
And yet 11 days previously at the FAI AGM, our new CEO is saying, Brexit, the adjustment fund, that will be a source of income. And Pascal, I think there's a degree of putting the boot in. He said, like when he's saying some time ago.
That's pointed.
There was clear irritation
on his part
in how he reacted to that.
So,
which I think is reflective, which I was kind of referencing, which is reflective of how the FAI is viewed in general by the government. There's a way to lobby, and the GA and the IRFU are brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And it's done quietly.
Yeah.
And it's done you don't piss off politicians.
To make matters worse, Mark Canham, just a few hours later, was due to speak to the media and make a presentation about the future of Irish football and pathways. So can you imagine? Who told, guys, Pascal's just, So
do you reckon it was still in there?
What Mark, well, I don't know. What Mark Canham said that evening then about the situation was, we are happy to accept we may have missed an opportunity there on that specific fund. You're like, your head is in your hands here. And just I was looking, I've had an exciting morning. I went onto the EU Reserve Brexit Fund document situation to check out the situation. Like, this has been talked about as like a fund for like 1 point something billion. Mm-hmm. How much money of that 1 point something billion do you think Ireland industries at large, so every other organisation, not the FAI, sitting around boards going, God, there's a fund here. How much do you think of the 1 point something billion Irish companies run by Irish people have managed to get? 802 million. We are like, this is like Eurovision in the 90s. Mm-hmm. We are just so far ahead of everybody in this fund. Irish businesses across the land, industries, have attracted in 360 million in 2021, 276 million in 02, which is the year Carell started at the FAI, and 163 million in 2023. So, and
of course, the mad thing is Irish football and Irish player development has been affected by Brexit. Yeah. I mean, there is a direct impact.
Yeah, and so Carell said at the AGM, obviously 2 weeks ago now, that they had targeted 20 million as what the FAI were going after. And to put 20 million in context, what Mark Canham said 2 weeks subsequent to that was, like, if we can get 10 million a year from the government, that will really transform our academies. So that was 20 million that the FAI felt they would have got from the Brexit fund. So look, I take the point that he may have been given a briefing document, but this is like a big thing. We're talking about 20 million. This isn't a government minister being asked about a local issue and being totally reliant on his briefing document. Like, this is significant. So you wish him well. You don't want to shoot somebody before they've got started, and he seems like a polished performer and obviously has credentials. But we have to be sceptical about this organisation.
Does it not feel that we're not a whole lot further on, really? I know we are, but really, are we a whole lot further on over the last 2-3 years with the FAI? There's still the gaffes. There's still the betting tax is another good example, I think, of putting the wrong foot forward. I know there's an argument, and I've heard Dan and others talking about it and the value of it, but to go on a solo run for something like that, for a fund that if it was to be taken off horse and greyhound racing and spread out, it won't just go to soccer, it would go to sport. So to go on a solo run, to break ranks and not to join forces with the other sporting organisations and campaign for it that way, which is the way that would be more likely to be successful. Like, there has been practically no reaction from government about the FAI's betting tax campaign because they know it's however, if it had been a united front coming across all the sports, say through the Federation of Irish Sport or whatever, that would get traction. Yeah. But they've just no credibility every time they put their hand out.
We'll move on. Arms crossed, I think, is the general mood in the room.
Head in hands.
It would have been great to see Sarah Keane get a chance. It has to be said. I know we're nailing our colours to the mast a little bit, but that would have felt transformative.
That would have ripped up the script that was there, wouldn't it? Fairness.
Sorry?
Yeah, she's got the track record. Yeah. It's as simple as that as well.
Maybe Turkeys didn't want to vote for Christmas. So the football last night then was really good. I found myself more drawn to Shamrock Rovers, I have to say, than Manchester United. So they drew 1-1 with Apoel and Nicosia. They barely touched the ball in the first 25 minutes. It was that kind of an evening for them against, obviously, a team stacked with internationals. They went down to 10 men. Neil Ferrugia, very avoidable on his part. And then they go 1-0 down and you think, well, that's probably that. But They hung in there, kept it at 1-0, and then Jack Byrne corner against his former club, Dylan Watts with a header. As his captain Pico Lopez said, I never expected Dylan Watts to head a ball in his life, but he picked a good moment to do it. And they have Shelbourne on Sunday, so that's a really good week, I think, capped off for League of Ireland generally. And then in Porto, the never-ending psychodrama that is Manchester United at the moment. Minutes remaining, they had contrived to go from 2-0 up to 3-2 down, but one man said, enough.
Eriksson to deliver the corner. Time running out on Manchester United. They've equalised. Yet more drama at the drag-out. Harry Maguire, up from the back, scores what could prove to be, for Erik ten Hag, a priceless goal.
To give you a sense of where a lot of people are with this team, I was sitting at my desk and John Greene was walking along with a coffee. It's just, in my observations thus far, that's really all that John Greene tends to do.
That's my thinking time.
You pick up quick.
And you bumped into somebody else, I don't know who he was, and the conversation went as follows. John, what you make of last night? Other man. Yeah. That was about the gist of it.
Yeah, Paul in office services.
Okay.
Another long suffering.
Are they just conditioned to drama or what? I don't know if I could handle that if I was a Manchester United fan.
I don't ever remember. I don't get too emotionally involved in it, but I don't ever remember a team to concede goals in clutches.
Yeah.
Like it's not one goal. It's a batch, and then something happens and it stops for a while, and then it's another batch.
I think the kind of situation for them now is, and I thought Jamie Carragher made this point at the end of last season really well. Like, he doesn't seem like the guy, so can we just rip the plaster off and stop having these stays of it? Like were there Manchester United fans last night who watched the equaliser and thought, oh, sugar, that's going to buy him another month?
Well, Carragher actually has come out very strongly on the Telegraph today, and he's gone in very hard on Ineos and said that they fudged a decision that they should have made in the summer, and that decision has now cost them 200 million.
As in the money they've let Ten Hag spend transfers, okay.
So, I mean, I can't see him surviving past Sunday. It's into an international break. It's always
would he if they lost last night, would he have been gone by Sunday?
No, I think you wait for the international break either way, don't you?
Because it does seem to be just rolling towards that inevitable conclusion. I'm not even a soccer head, and I saw last night's game, and I was like, "This is."
But I've listened to Damien Delaney this week, and I've listened to Gary yesterday, and like every good football pundit is forget about the emotional response of a fan. Every good football pundit is looking at this and they're going, "Okay, we've watched this now for just over 2 years. We don't know what the philosophy is. We don't know what the structure is. We don't know what the game plan is. We don't know what the transfer policy is. We don't know anything about this." I mean, the team that started last night had 7 Ten Hag signings in it. So that's his team. That's, you know, the other, there was 2 or 3 academy players, I think, isn't it? Garnacho, Rashford and Diallo. So 7 players, that's his team.
But even his decision making last night, I mean, taking off Rashford.
I'm assuming that was an injury. I don't know.
No, he said it was like to give more, like with Sunday in mind as well, and so you know, it just didn't stack up to me really. But
because he was actually having one of his better games.
Yeah.
No, the thing is just drifting along, and it's was it Gary said yesterday? I can't remember which of the pundits said this week that Ten Hag is probably an okay manager for other clubs, but he's not the right guy for this club.
That's the story with quite a lot of managers.
But Paul said something. Paul from Office Services in our conversation said something very true.
Bring him in.
He said, "If the answer is Gareth Southgate, then don't change it yet."
Yeah, I sense from his body language, Paul's pretty beaten down at this stage.
Change is a funny thing.
I think he's more emotionally invested than I am.
I think what Paul was saying was, I just hate them so much. I actually hate them.
Change is a funny thing, though. Is the change an improvement? And are you guaranteed it's going to be change for the sake of change is not necessarily good. Change where you're buzzing about the successor is a different story. The idea of fudging the thing is gas, because like you see county boards and even clubs where they have a loyalty to a club man or a county man, and you know, you give him another year. That's fair enough. They've given a service to the county or whatever, or their club. But this is a business. Like, has he improved them at all?
No. Like Postecoglou's come in instant he's put a stamp on them. You can look at it and you're all right, okay. Slots come in Liverpool, he's tweaked a few little things from Emery comes into Aston Villa. They have a pattern. You understand what they're trying to do, and it either works or it doesn't after that.
Yeah.
I don't even understand. And, it's the same. We'll be talking about the women's rugby team. Just somebody comes in, puts their stamp on them, changes everything.
Yeah.
It's not... That's where he falls down, I think.
But even Bruno Fernandes, like instant sent out. I know he had the card overturned last week. I mean, that if ever was a sign of frustration, that was it. And even Van Nistelrooy getting the yellow. I mean, my God, Ten Hag looked fairly pissed off at the time. Like, is he a guy who could possibly... Van Nistelrooy, is that, did I see someone say
this? He'll probably get it in term if they decide to pull the plaster over the international break. If Aston Villa goes very badly on Sunday and they feel they've no choice, then I guess Rude is a kind of a nice fan's favourite club legend. Stick him in.
Yeah.
And then he'll win 8 games in a freakish occurrence, get the job permanently, and then that'll blow up. Johnny Sexton is obviously in tone to Paul Kimmage on Sunday, and I like, my sense is I'd say he's hated this week.
Yeah.
Hated this week. So the extracts in Sunday Times went public, and I suppose what caught fire, certainly in the internet, not least down in New Zealand, was his revelation that after the final whistle in the World Cup quarter final last year.
They're bloody touchy in New Zealand, aren't they?
Oh, they are.
I know we have a few listeners there, but
Rico Ioane said to him after the final whistle, which I thought, I kind of, I think in game all is fair. But I think after the final whistle, you've already won. There's an extra bit of nastiness to this. The guy's retiring. It's his last game. These are his last seconds on a rugby pitch.
I think exactly. It's the last game as well. I mean, that was really rubbing in, wasn't it?
Well, he walks over and you can see the footage, and Sexton's head turns as he digests what's just been said to him, which is, "Don't miss your flight tomorrow. Enjoy your retirement, you see." And, I mean, even I kind of want to,
All's fair in love and war when, ball is in play or whatever, and all sorts of things are said and done, and you're just trying to get an edge, but it's over, like that's, and of course it was going to stick in his craw. There's no doubt that it would, and you'd carry that with you. I've had things said to me in games, and you probably nearly laugh with the person after, but that type of thing, like that's his last game. He's nearly not soaking it in, but he's taking it all in. And this is said to him. Of course, that's all you're going to remember.
Right when you've just lost. And he's a sore loser. I mean, it's like, imagine you've lost a game of FIFA and your brother says, like, you're going to throw the remote at their head. You know what I mean?
The ultimate competitor.
The worst moment.
He said to him,
but that's why he said to him, because he is the ultimate competitor as well.
And he knew he would get under his skin, probably as well. More so, Joe, I have to bring up something here. Like, there's different types of sledging. That's obviously one type. And GA now, there'd be all sorts of different types of sledging being said on the pitch or whatever. But I came across a unique one years ago. It was in a camogie game. A girl referred it to me after. She said she was 20 and she was playing full back and she was marking a lady around maybe 35, something like that. And she came into her anyway. The normal thing would be, he'd say something about whatever it is, or it could be anything. But the 35-year-old came into her and said, "Hey, listen, I just want to let you know I'm 12 weeks pregnant." And the one was like, "Oh my God." He's like, just wanted to be aware of that. That was grand. And the full back never touched her. The full forward went to town, and needless to say, she was not 12 weeks pregnant.
So good.
Different variation on sledging. That's so smart, like.
That we can get behind.
Because I've had people been involved with teams.
What's the worst one you got?
Well, it's not bad. Like, I remember being slagged off about my love of wrestling in the middle of a county semi-final, and I was like, "Are you for real?"
And do you have a love of wrestling?
Oh, I love wrestling. I'm proud of it. Like,
where have you been?
There's no issue there. Like, I'd be front and centre with that. But there'd be all sorts of things said during games, and like, if someone came after me, I'd come after them. You'd always have something in your back pocket. It would never be too bad. It would never be like family-wise or anything like that. But that sort of thing is like generally accepted. But that kind of thing after the fact, after the game is over, like Sexton would. Like, that's like red rag to a bull. Like,
not to sound kind of childish or simplistic here, but it's a very mean thing to do.
It is.
It's just really nasty.
Yeah.
I see. I would think sledging more so GAA than a lot of sports. Like, there's the famous stories of. I don't know why I'm about to say it's Tyrone. I just thought it might be Tyrone. The phone number of the other fella's girlfriend.
Yeah. That's the one that's gone around.
That's creepy.
Historically, now that's one of the ones that's always pointed back to. It's funny though, like, You would not do that now. Nobody knows anybody's number now.
It's true.
No,
I mean,
like-
that would just freak you out on the
Yeah.
pitch like that. You wouldn't be able to play for the rest of the.
But to Michael's point, if you held my wife's phone number in front of me, I'd be like, I don't know who. I
That's poor now, Joe. You should know that number and your
I
home
know it's
number.
like, it's like 7-2.
But it's amazing, like there's bits of intel out there. People will go to any lengths to
Will they?
get a bit of an edge. Like I remember I'd been on the line in a game and a fella came over to me. I was after handing in water, we'll say to you, Sinead, and a fella came over when I came back to the line and said, I saw what you did there. If you do it again, I'll report to the referee. And I was like, what's going on here? And for the next 20 minutes, I was out of the game. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't. But I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
but he
of
got in
course,
my
we did
head,
that.
and I was
Yeah.
redundant for the next 20 minutes.
Brilliant.
There's a bit
Love
more craft to those than I was expecting.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
That's
now, to be
because
honest
I
with
just
you.
thought it'd be like.
No, the ones that really, there's a bit of thought put into them
Yeah,
are the ones that really
preconceived.
get to
Yeah.
you. Like I know for a fact that there are certain inter-county managers where lads would be placed relatively close to their vicinity and would be shouting certain things at them to get their head out of the game.
From the sideline.
Oh yeah, or just from the front row of the stand, or
Okay.
from behind the goals.
In
And
a- in a-
goalkeepers as well.
In a big inter-county match.
Oh yeah, and it would work to some extent. In club games, there would be a lad, maybe a hurley carrier, positioned very close to the manager, and he'd just be in the way.
Is that not so small time? If an inter-county manager,
Love it.
an inter-county, would most players not, if they heard an inter-county manager saying to one of the subs, "Listen, you sit front row in Croke Park, and you scream at your man, and here, maybe scream a bit of that." Would most people in the dressing room not be thinking that is small time?
Joe, Happy Gilmore. Okay, worked on him. It worked on anybody else.
Jeez, that's interesting.
I think it's
Have you ever
fascinating.
seen this man light up as much as he's lit up for the
I
last 5
know.
minutes?
Yeah.
It's very much, I have a friend, and you're wondering,
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
autobiographical?
Are you telling people you're pregnant?
I've never been down that road now. That's a bit far fetched now.
I've never heard that one before
Yeah.
or something like that.
it's-
Wow.
That would totally take you aback.
Oh.
Like.
So you
Completely wipe you.
You
I-
couldn't lay a finger on her.
No.
No.
Like
Absolutely
And can you
not.
imagine the confusion on the sideline? Jesus, get closer!
And you're like, are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah.
What the better
Will I
would have
get you
been,
some water?
I'm 12 weeks pregnant, but nobody knows yet, so she can't even tell the manager or whatever.
She's like, I'm geriatric. I'm 30,
Oh, that is a classic.
That's very good. Is it better, worse, same as always in GAA over the last 10, 15 years versus 15 years ago?
I'd probably say it's the same, but
Yeah.
like lads meet each other more often now as well. Like we have club rivalries at home where you do like you hate certain lads.
Who would you? What?
No, we're not getting into this now. No, I'm not getting into this now. But there would be certain clubs. But like you meet lads so often now, and even with social media now, you interact with people so often now. It's
And you're all hurling men,
It's going to club matches, where I live and stuff. It's just probably a little bit more sterile now, is it? It's just there's not as much. Or maybe this is just dinosaurs talking, but there's not as much crack on the field as there used to be.
I would have thought that, John, but I was at the Newbridge Derby last week, Sarsfields and Moorfield,
that'd be,
and it was in
that'd be-
Hawkfield, and you're right. I was right.
There'd be right spice
I stood
there
between the two dugouts, and I was like, "This is gonna be brilliant."
Wow.
And there was all sorts, like all sorts going over and back. There was like I don't think that many things were over the line, but I thought this was over the line, and it was quite simple. One mentor was just shouting, "Go after him! He's yellow!" And I was like, come on now, that's a bit much now. You could say you could word it a different way or something like
Such
that.
a Michael Verney thing. You can say anything. You can't insult the man's manhood now. Come on.
Well, my mother always said to me, "You're going playing hurling or whatever. I don't mind whether you're good, bad, or indifferent, but just don't be cowardly."
Jesus.
Take no prisoners here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And when it's all done, so like Sexton, Ioane has actually continued into this week. Ioane posting on Instagram the picture of those two having words and in your head.
A
in
zombie,
your
that's
head,
right,
And,
yeah.
and an emoji of home over Sexton, as in we send you home.
What a great retort! Like in all fairness.
Again, what do you say back to that?
Yeah.
But in GA, your average club game, when final whistle goes, is there kind of lads, all is fair in love and war, or does it stay a bit nasty?
Yeah, no, I would definitely think it's all fair in love and war, and lads would shake hands, and it would be generally peaceful enough thereafter. It kind of has to be. You're meeting lads that often now, and that kind of has to be, But you need that bit of spite, and a bit of spite while the ball is thrown in for those 60 whatever minutes. I think is fine. It's quite healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What club do you play for, by the way?
I was playing with Burr up until last year. Yeah.
And
But
who?
he's managing now.
Are you?
Trying to. We can come to that. We can
No,
come
go
to
on,
that
go on.
on our Brian Cody talk.
Oh,
we can
yes.
come to
All
that.
right, okay.
Yeah.
But who do Burr hate the most?
Rhinus and Coolderry.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Nothing stirs the juice is more than that now.
So, well, that's Sexton. Ireland 29, New Zealand 27. You were meant to be on the panel on Monday.
I was.
And then we got word you were staying up till 3 a.m. And I was like, she's not coming in here after watching Ireland get pumped by
Now,
50.
Can I just say, I did go to bed and then got up.
All
Yeah,
right.
2:45.
I didn't know if you were Eamon Dunphy and just pushed on through.
No, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like even now, on Saturday, they're playing at midnight. Like I might go to bed for an hour or two in between that and then get up. But yeah, it was emotional watching, I have to say, that hour of the morning.
And New Zealand, because I know Canada, for instance, who hammered France last week, which is ominous for Saturday, they've made 5 changes. I had wondered if, because Ireland are kind of the weakest, quite clearly at WXV1, did New Zealand make a raft of changes? Was this like, is there any kind of asterisks beside this or no?
Let's say, for example, they changed their front row now, for example. But I wonder, we talk about Munster's defeat away to Zebri last week. I wonder, was there a sense of complacency there by the Black Ferns? They were beaten by Canada earlier this year as well in the Pac 4, which was the first time that Canada had beaten the Black Ferns. But I do wonder if there was a sense of complacency. They have bigger games to come, and but Ireland, that's not to take away from Ireland's performance. It was amazing, it really was. So, but I wonder. But now their cover is blown, and like Canada is going to be really tough this weekend. Yeah,
it could be a real reality check, I suppose, after a very nice week, I'm sure. Your sense of where this team is at with the public. I give you mine to tee up. So I think obviously there's an awareness that they are really unhappy with their treatment at the hands of the RFU. But somewhere around the time that the Six Nations 2 years ago, where they lost every single game, didn't get a single point, they may not have scored a try.
Last year.
Yeah.
23, yeah.
I felt like the public almost just consigned them to, we're just paying no attention to this. And obviously Six Nations this year a bit better, but even being part of the TV coverage, I don't feel it registered overly with people in my world, the world at large, and then they have the misfortune to be in New Zealand, but it's at 3 a.m. So I think even within Irish Rugby there could be like a kind of an echo chamber of, God, this is amazing, and the whole country's talking about it. And I think the country saw the headlines because the headlines were everywhere, but I have not had a sense this week from talking to sports fans of like, geez, the rugby was great on Saturday. It's still very much on the outer reaches, I think. Yeah, I think it is. And it is unfortunate that it did take place at that time of the day, that even that competition, which has not been drawing in the crowds, for example, in Tier 1, which is over in Canada, that it didn't take place in England. I think England are very unhappy with the numbers that have been shown up to that game, considering it's Canada. Like, Canada are a good rugby nation in the women's game. They came second in the sevens. So it is unfortunate with the crowds, the fact that it was on at that hour of the morning. But when you compare it to, let's say, the Republic of Ireland women's team, they don't have that same support. No. I think it was just over 7,000 that was at their game in Belfast for their final game in the Six Nations against Scotland. I mean, you see the Republic of Ireland women's team, they're now playing at the Aviva Stadium. The Irish women's rugby team are a long way from there. But this was the win that they needed. And I even wrote about it after their Six Nations win. The RFU need to try and mobilise a movement here around this team. And they've got the World Cup coming up next year, in August. So I think a lot more visibility needs to be around this team as well. And I think that win at the weekend could be the spark for that. I really do believe that. I remember John Cronin, John wrote a really good piece for the Sindo.
He did a series of pieces, yeah.
And he made some really good insights on what the developments, that could be made for this team as well. So I think that win will help them a lot. They are now getting increased funding from the RFU, but they do need that increased support, I think, from the public. And, they'll have those 2 games, home games. They are against France and England in the Six Nations next year. But there does need to be more of a connection made, I think, with the public. And I think one of the things as well, there needs to be more cross-pollination as well with the men's team. I think they do sometimes with their jersey launches. I'd like to see more of an interconnection between the national men's team. They've got like the best profile of a sports team in this country. And I'd like to see them kind of, even in a publicity stakes, moved more in with the men's team.
Like what the Dubs do.
Yes, I was just going to say, like what Dublin do when they're doing a commercial thing. It's Dublin football, Dublin hurling, and ladies football and camogie.
Smart.
So now this is now that this is a professionalised team with the national women's team, I would like to see that movement there with the national men's team. Like England do that quite well with them and the Red Roses. So I would like to see that happen a bit more with the 2 national senior teams.
I think it's going to be really difficult, if I'm honest. I can't see it taking a quantum leap for just a few reasons. And I find it very difficult even like trying to do the TV job with them is that there is zero visibility outside of internationals. So, like, there's no league as such here. There's no, so they just disappear. And then often when a new campaign starts, you're like, God, I don't recognise that name, or that name. So that's really tricky.
Yeah.
Well, the women's football has definitely benefited a little bit from having a domestic league, hasn't it?
For sure.
It's on TV.
Yeah.
And Katie McCabe's on Sky Sports.
Yeah,
and,
there's
you know, there's a WSL aspect.
TG Carr broadcasting at Lone Town on Saturday.
Well, actually, TG Carr did also broadcast the interprovincials that took place in August, but there was so little publicity about it. Like
I didn't know they were on.
Yeah, I was at the final game in Belfast. Not a great crowd.
No. So there's that problem, just that lack of visibility outside of the windows. And then the other thing is that even when the Six Nations is on, I have to get the date, but Ireland had a crucial Six Nations match this year. And I remember thinking, because we had it in Virgin, and I remember thinking, brilliant. That's actually good. We can make something out of that, and we might, you know, I don't know what a good audience would be, but it was a nice time on a Saturday. I thought really good. And then we got closer to the game, and the EPCR, in their wisdom, put on Leinster La Rochelle down the road, same country, at the same time.
Yeah, that was Ireland's win over Wales at Musgrave Park.
Okay, so
yeah, because that Leinster game was on that evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even from my perspective, Ireland beating Wales was the biggest thing that team have done in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, the nightmare's over.
Yeah.
And again, on TV, they're like, everybody's going to see this at home. The boys and the girls are going to see it and they're going to play right. I'm like, they're not. They're watching Leinster La Rochelle. And I just thought, God, rugby, do a favour for your female athletes here. Put on Leinster La Rochelle half an hour later, later. I would say the EPCR it didn't even occur to them the Women's Six Nations was on. So it wasn't even like, should we consider that? No way. So I think they've
and the timing,
the
Leinster game could have gone on to another day, like maybe, but like it was on that Saturday evening as well. Yeah,
So it's really difficult in that there's nothing, and then there are the windows, and yet there's lots of great rugby, men's rugby, which people are obviously have more an affinity with as a starting point at the same time. And so I feel really sorry for the team, but I wouldn't be optimistic actually of them doing what the Republic of Ireland team have done anytime soon. I really hope I'm wrong.
Soon, right? Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Six Nations is a big chance for them. Terrestrial TV, good kickoff times.
Yeah.
So if they deliver there again, maybe. And the World Cup,
but
you're right.
What are you looking at? Like, what's a good Six Nations? It's beating
Wales.
The other three teams.
Yeah. God, how do you preview England-Ireland, and how do you preview Ireland-France?
It is going to be a tough Six Nations next year for them. Yeah,
because they have the away matches against the better teams.
Yeah.
Or the weaker teams.
Yeah. So England and France will be coming to Ireland. Not sure where the games are on yet. Obviously, the RDS is ruled out. So maybe Ravenhill, which has proved to be a really good stadium for them to play in. But
so you're right about the World Cup. The World Cup's the chance. The
World Cup, that's the carrot. That's what they've got there. That's what they can aim towards. Yeah. I mean, it's on in England. We talk about like home World Cups over in France. Like, well, Ireland did have a home World Cup, obviously, in 2017. The less said about that. But the fact that the World Cup is there and they've got this huge thing to aim towards. Like 80,000 tickets have already been sold for that tournament. Tickets went on sale for that this week. The fact that it's on in England, it is a bit disheartening seeing the lack of crowds over there in Canada. Like, it was definitely, I suppose it's for England because they're so used to playing in front of huge crowds, whereas I suppose maybe for us it was like they got the win and that was the most important thing against New Zealand. But look, it's going to be a tough game against Canada. Could be even tougher than the Black Ferns this weekend. But
you're right about England. They're the blueprint, what they do, Six Nations.
They are.
Sell-out games.
They are the market leaders.
30, 40, 50,000, no problem. And I think it's really weird to be an English rugby fan in Six Nations. You're turning up and it's not a contest, bar the French game, and increasingly they've moved a bit away from France. It's like
a hard sell. But
will we beat Ireland by 50 or 100?
Yeah.
But they're still turning up.
Yeah, no, they are for sure. Even England are just so out on their own at the moment, even ahead of the Black Ferns.
Yeah, it's a problem for the Six Nations.
It's a problem for World Rugby probably in some ways, you know. So, and like the WXV1 tournament, they're talking there are going to have to be changes made to that next year. So,
listen, it was good to bring you back down to earth. Sorry about that. Can I have 1 week to feel good?
Oh no, but no. Look, it was a fantastic performance. Really looking forward to this weekend. Cleena Maloney starts for the first time since she's recalled to the squad. Erin King is in there in the back row. I'm telling you, this woman, I actually interviewed her last night for a piece for tomorrow. Oh, nice. It's her third cap. She scored 2 tries in the second half against the Black Ferns. The strength of this woman, I don't know if you saw, but during the Olympics, a video of her went viral. She was lifting up Emily Lane, and she basically she's got such strength, and she was able to hold on to her. It just like has millions and millions of views. she's 20 and doesn't turn 21 till later this month. So there is incredible talent coming through there.
That back row is starting to look tidy.
Her, Aoife Wafer's at 7, Brittany Hogan at 8.
I did see the Canadian manager. He didn't say her name. It was almost borderline disrespectful, but he was saying they have a young flanker who's, and then he talked about her at length. So she's kind of an extraordinary player. So I guess maybe you kind of hook people in around players like her.
They do. They've audience pullers inside there. So they've a lot of players there that they can build. Excitement and all that kind of stuff around, I think.
Aoife Wafer is the Irish Independent Sports Star of the Week, I see from today's paper as well. Yeah.
Of course she is, she was sensational.
Michael Cheika, before we go, guilty of disrespecting, was the word, an independent match doctor and given a 2-week suspension. So Cheika these days is managing Leicester. The written judgment said his behaviour was described as, quote, overly aggressive with intense eye contact. So what happened here is game at Sandy Park, and Cheika went into the medical room and he asked why Ollie Chesham had been assessed as an immediate permanent removal. So like the independent doctor said, you're off, it's immediate, it's permanent, that's it. At one stage the doctor told Cheika he was being rude, they said, and aggressive, and that he was standing too close to him and that his behaviour was not acceptable. Mr. Cheika's response was to say he was taller than the doctor and asked whether he should stand back. In the doctor's opinion, Mr. Cheika was being rather rude and confrontational and overly aggressive in his body language and voice. So, and another interesting line, Chesham incorrectly, says the piece, had been allowed to rejoin the action by the Leicester team doctor. But then independent doctor comes in and says, Chesham, off you come. The judgment, naturally enough, said no independent match doctor should be subject to 5 minutes of disagreement about a decision that he was entitled to take and had taken. So,
if you read the longer version, some of the stuff Cheika said, he said that the doctor tried to humiliate him in front of the player, didn't know who he was, and lots of other stuff, muddying the water.
The doctor doesn't need to know.
No, it's irrelevant,
completely.
Not there for sporting knowledge.
And actually, I know we were saying off air, it's good that they took action. It's almost a bit lenient. A 2-week suspension, 1 week suspended. It's not huge. What he did is no different than what Sexton did with the referee after the Champions Cup final. It's the same thing. He's gone into an independent person who is there to uphold the integrity of the game, which the referee is. And what did Sexton get? A 3-match ban?
Got a fair bit, yeah.
To me, the sins are at least identical, or possibly Cheika's is even worse, because
it's way worse.
Because an independent doctor has said that guy needs to be off. Yeah. Even if he's wrong, it doesn't matter because he's erring on the side of caution if he's wrong.
I would question even how...
It sounds like he was right when you read the circumstances.
Question even how Cheika was even allowed to get in there at that time. That I would have concerns about that. I have to say, when I saw this story first and just saw kind of the headline on it, without knowing the details, a part of me was like, okay, not surprised. Like, I remember seeing Cheika first time, in his first season with Leinster down in Thomond Park, and he was like outside the referee's dressing room, and but then when I saw the details of this, I mean, completely unacceptable. That is why the matchday doctor is there, to make decisions like this. And I couldn't believe Cheika's
I'm very
behaviour.
Surprised he did it, actually.
I can't believe his behaviour here.
Yeah.
And it's troubling. And is it, again, we were talking off here, is this an old school coach who, is behaving like an old school coach, or is this something that's goes on now and again in rugby? You'd hope to think that it's not.
That they're exerting pressure on medical officials, because even, and this is, have to stress in defence of Cheika and the Leicester doctor, this is pure speculation. But I suppose you can look at a few things, and you look at the pressure he put on the independent doctor, and then you read that the Leicester doctor gave Chesham the all clear. Maybe Cheika didn't even blink in the direction of his doctor. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I suppose you have to question if the general atmosphere, the general culture suggests that we don't love losing our players during a game here, folks. Maybe nothing has to be said. And so is the Leicester doctor feeling a degree of pressure when, of course, their responsibility is to the player and nothing else?
Just funny you say that, with the fact that they mentioned eye contact. He mightn't ever have to say anything to his own doctor. There might never be anything said. It might just be that sort of
You
look,
could
and
put money on it that it's not.
Yeah.
It's not,
And again, in defence of Checa, we don't know, and
No.
we weren't there, and that is speculation. But I suppose it's a fair question to
I
ask.
just feel that maybe the punishment could have been a bit
Stronger
sent out
down.
a, a stronger message.
I agree. I think
And
it's
the language is quite temperate. He was the panel found that Checa, it wasn't proven that Checa intimidated the doctor, which is what he was charged with. What was proven was that he disrespected the doctor.
Yeah.
It's a big difference in that situation, in that cauldron of how it's been described between intimidating and disrespecting. And if a guy is standing there glaring at you, who's bigger than you, taller than you, if that's not intimidating you, I don't know what is.
Just quickly, how close are the two areas from where Checa is to where the player has been assessed?
no idea.
Yeah, like he obviously had to get up and go, and
We get to
you
go
know what I mean?
downstairs anyway. Yeah.
Just from other stuff I've been reading this week with the Sexton thing, it never occurred to me, but a lot goes on in the bowels of a rugby stadium. We see this kind of sanitised behaviour on the pitch that's, all very choreographed, and they're clapping each other off at the end and all this stuff. But there's a lot of stuff goes on in the bowels of the stadium.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
The good stuff.
I used to love being in the tunnel, like when I used to be there
Oh
in
yeah.
BB
Can you give us
Stadium,
anything
yeah.
juicy? Did you see anything?
But I know I didn't really, but like you knew
Was
you
there
were
a
in
vibe? Was there a
there
feeling?
was a vibe, and maybe it was in my head, but you knew you were in a place that not many people could be in, and it was. But now, of course, post COVID, you do, all the interviews are taken away from the tunnel. They're all kind of done. A lot of them are done out in the open.
Pitch. I hate that. And there's always like a.
Because there's always an extra intimacy when it's indoors, and
there's even the delay, like they're not initially on the stadium speakers, and then eventually halfway through an answer they get the speakers working. It's just all messy, Anyway, that's Checa. I'd be fascinated to see what he has to say about it, and I presume he'll be asked about it in a couple of weeks. And
They haven't. He has an opportunity to appeal, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, he
and,
does, yeah.
So he probably won't say anything until we know if they're appealing or not.
Forget Kimmage and Sexton. Tomorrow's paper, Michael Verney, Brian Cody's biggest challenge. That was a very, very, very intriguing sell to me here.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just a headline for the sake of a headline. He was with Kilkenny for 22 years, obviously won 11 All-Irelands, the most decorated manager in the history of the GAA. He went back to his club straight away. He went in as a selector. They were beaten in a county final.
His club being
James Stevens in one of the three Kilkenny City clubs. Then he took on the manager's role the year after. They got to a semi-final, well beaten, and they're in relegation this year, going through a bit of a transition, lost a good few players. They're the only club that have never been relegated from the Kilkenny Senior Ireland Championship. They came up when it was junior to senior in the mid-50s, and they've been there ever since. Like, Cody's obviously one of the most celebrated sons, Jackie Tyrrell, Joe Hennessy, who's a selector, Owen Larkin, who's a selector, Cody, who's manager, all these celebrated players, and like their life is kind of on the line tomorrow in Thomastown at 2:00. You talk about the pressure of a county final. There is a lot of pressure in a county final, but someone wins and someone loses. Somebody gets a bit tin, somebody doesn't. A relegation final is a different type of pressure completely.
and they have to win, and that sorts them out.
They have to win, yeah. It'll go to extra time if it's level. It'll go to penalties thereafter. They have to win. They're playing Glenmore, who are obviously former All-Ireland club champions as well. So it's two kind of big hitters going at it.
Is Cody manager?
Oh yeah, he's manager.
He's just
yeah,
a
yeah.
manager, is he?
Yeah, he doesn't really talk after games or anything like that. He lets somebody else do it, but he's manager, yeah. And like through the whole Kilkenny thing, it was the village. That's what James Stevens recalls. It was the village first and foremost. It was Kilkenny thereafter. He was always down in Larchfield or always out in Kells Road where they're based now, and he would not want to be associated with a relegation. Definitely
and they've
not.
never been in this position.
No, never in a relegation final to the best of my knowledge.
yeah.
A couple of semi-finals, I think. I was actually just chatting Jackie Tyrrell briefly this morning. He just said different game, different pressure, different mentality, and it is. It's different type of pressure. And I was involved in a relegation final last weekend with a club I'm involved with in Meath, and it's just like it is a different type of pressure.
Did you win?
Yes, we won by 1, thank God.
Oh my God.
And the relief of it all. But it's just like,
Did you cry after?
I actually did, yeah. And it's not my club, and it's
See, he
15
answers the
minutes away
question.
from me.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how much it means. And sure, somebody triggers you. You see
course.
somebody else kind of getting
Yeah,
emotional, and you get
amazing.
emotional.
And then did you think, God, my mum said not to be cowardly in my life?
The great one was, like, if you were saying about someone who was, that way inclined, you'd say they wouldn't go into a dark room, which is the ultimate insult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is a huge game tomorrow. Massive, massive game. And
Will you go to it?
I won't go to it. I think it's on Clubber actually, which is great, and you can go and see these games now that you wouldn't have been able to see before. But yeah, high stakes stuff, like high stakes, far away from Crow Park or any of the bright lights. But
it's good though,
high
because
stakes.
the club, no more than the women's rugby, the club needs stories like that with
Yeah.
national
Yeah.
figures.
Yeah.
In a broader sense, we're getting into that time, that window now of 4 or 5 weeks where there are going to be huge club games, and at a time when the GA has conceded a lot of ground promotionally to rugby and soccer in particular, these kind of stories coming out now for the next 4 or 5 weeks are going to put. I mean, it's hard doing something like this to find something to talk about in the GA. Okay, we have the rules thing,
Sure,
but you know what I mean. On the pitch and around the country over the next month, we're going to be getting these kind of stories coming through.
Yeah,
that get the GA
bit of something,
a bit of oxygen.
Remind me, who are the others? You said there's 3 city clubs in Kilkenny.
Yeah, Dixborough, O'Loughlin's, who are the reigning champions, and James Stephens.
Okay.
And James Stephens, if they were relegated, like iconic clubs were relegated in the last 12 months. You had Glen Rovers in Cork, you had Rathnore in Wexford, so home of Christy Ring, home of Nicky Rackard, and then you had Clare Castle, home of Dalo, all relegated last year. So like it's just a part of history that nobody wants to be anyway related to, and that's what's great. It's a different type of pressure, different type of relief, different type of elation as well. So yeah, be watching that closely.
Yeah, look out for that. We are done. That wasn't so bad. Big thank you to Sinéad Kissane. Great to have you in. Michael Verney, pleasure, and John Greene.
Back to drinking coffee.
There's coffee to be had.
Talking to Paul.
Yeah. Jeez, Paul, I gave it to Ten Hag in there now. I gave it to him. All right.
Good stuff.